Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is Dave Davis with Your Money Matters.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Digital Desk. Something we're doing here at News on 6 where we're having outside of the newscast interviews, digital first content, and breaking down stories and going deep with experts, or sometimes it's just analyzing the news of the day outside of the newscast. Of course, we have 5.5 hours on the morning show, but sometimes it's just not enough for certain subjects. And really, last week we've reported on the inflation report, inflation up about 2.7%, and that is year over year. It's up 0.3 from last month. So it was 2.4, it's now up to 2.7, and that is above that Federal Reserve target of 2% that has really become a hot political topic, as well as the president has criticized the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, for not dropping interest rates. Jerome Powell, meanwhile, he's saying that it's one of these deals where he wants it to see 2% inflation before he drops the interest rates, because the Fed chair is saying that's what it needs to be. Otherwise, Chair Powell is concerned that if he drops rates too low, those interest rates too low, that inflation will go up. So what the president is saying, what Jerome Powell is saying, appear to be somewhat different at this point. But it is a matter of, for Jerome Powell, not wanting to see inflation go up anymore by dropping the interest rates too soon. So that's that discussion, but I wanted to get into some key areas of why inflation is going up and why this matters to you. I mean, first of all, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that's what it is, right here, CPI up 2.7%. That is the cost of things. That's the cost of things. If Amazon is the marketplace of things, the internet of things, CPI is the cost of things. So let's start off with housing. This has long been an issue with the high inflation. It just keeps going up, and the data shows that from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Some places fluctuate, gasoline, gas for our cars, that's going to go up and down. Eggs, meat, groceries, those go up and down. But shelter, this is housing, rent, owning, it continues to go up throughout inflation. It does not dip, is what the data shows. So shelter's up 3.8%. Median price of a home in Tulsa is now $230,000. And this comes at a time where recent surveys have shown that Americans say, 46% of Americans say they need $100,000 to live comfortably, making that as a household. A quarter of Americans say they need to make $150,000 to live comfortably. As the price of homes go up, you kind of see that playing out. The second thing that kind of stood out to me from the inflation report is restaurants. This is another trend, and that's why I put it on there. Restaurants are up 4% year over year. So that means your $100 restaurant bill is now up to $104. Your $50 restaurant bill is up half that, $2.50. And it may not seem like a lot, but when you're talking about, okay, price of homes are up a couple $100, restaurants are up $5, groceries up $5. It really does add up. Restaurants, they just continue this upward trend. It's housing and it's restaurants. Looking at the data, as I have for the last several inflation reports since that big spike in 2022, where really all the prices went up in the summer of 2022. If you look at that data, it's post-COVID, 2 years post-COVID, and it just popped. Everything 13% inflation. Well, the two of the constants have been shelter, and then restaurants keep going up. As you think about it, it's food, it's prepared food, restaurants have overhead, it does make sense. The third thing that stood out for me from this recent inflation report, and this is for June, by the way, groceries up 2.4%. This is another area where this will tend to fluctuate. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes they go down, sometimes eggs are down, meat's up, chicken's down. Well, this time around for June, meat, eggs, and poultry were the big driver. That's 5.6% just for those categories. Fish is in there too. But you think about that. So food generally is up. It's food away from home is the government classification. It's not restaurants. It's food away from home is the classification, right? But then there's food at home. So the groceries at home, and all of that is up. I wanted to have just highlight some numbers from this inflation report that just came out middle of June, June 15th, June 16th. So we already talked about the inflation up to 2.7% from 2.4%. The main drivers appear to be shelter, food, Energy, this is talking about electricity. So electricity bills, you may have noticed that. Those are up almost 6%. Car insurance and car maintenance, actually, that was my phone. That's the auto shop that's just calling me right now. So that's case in point right there. Car insurance, car maintenance, all of those costs continue to go up. Car insurance, by the way, this has been a big topic of conversation nationally, up 6%. Again, I mean, $100 car insurance bill is now $106. What it used to be last year, $100, now it's $106. All of these dollars and cents adds up. One of the positives, and it's not all bad, one of the positives is that gasoline is down. And with the summer travel season, they were talking about on CBS News, biggest 4th of July travel in a long time. Gasoline being down, filling up your car is less. That does help. And 8% down, that is significant. But I want to circle back to something that I thought was this is just always stands out to me, and that's shelter. And that's, keeping that roof over your head. This is homes. We're talking about apartments, anything where you keep a roof over your head. This is what it looks like. This is from Bankrate, and Bankrate does these analyses. Here's what they say about Tulsa. Median home sale price in Tulsa. So this is average home costs $230,000 in Tulsa. Even more than that in Glenpool, interestingly. Glenpool is above Tulsa, but Tulsa, $230,000. That is up $23,000 from last year for a home. $23,000 more than it was January of last year. And it's up $41,000 from May of 2021. That is a 5-year low. May 2021, you could get a home on average for $188,000 in Tulsa. Now it's $41,000 above that. So a lot of experts will say, you want 10 to 20% down, 20%, you don't have to pay PMI, you don't have to pay the payment, you don't have to pay the mortgage insurance. So if you're just doing 10% down with average home prices, so you need $23,000 according to Bankrate, and just math, right? 10% of $230,000. So $23,000 for 10% down. But the one often non-negotiable is closing cost. I mean, if you're buying a home, you have to pay those closing costs typically. So if you're going to be paying 3% in closing costs, you basically need, even if you do no money down, you need $9,200 just cash. You just need that money to be able to pay for closing costs on a $230,000 home, which is the average. The good news, and something that Bankrate highlighted that was really good, so when all those prices went up in 2022, one of the other issues that we saw, according to the data, was that Tulsa just didn't have very many homes for sale, less than 400 homes on the market. But now, 3 years later, inventory is way up by 600 homes. So there's, according to Bankrate, 926 homes for sale now. Whereas when all those prices jumped 3 years ago and everything was getting super duper expensive, we didn't have very many homes. The inventory was not good in Tulsa, and that has significantly improved in the last 3 years. So some of the highlights from inflation: yes, inflation was up bigger than expected, 2.7%. The biggest culprits still are housing. It's still car insurance is going up, restaurants are going up, and energy, which is seasonal. It can go, electric bills will be down and up, but electric is up, of course, in this Oklahoma summer heat. Electric bills are already up 6%. The good news is you got to have several $1,000s to be ready to move into a home. Bankrate says always get that realtor. I mean, people can do it by themselves, but they say always get a realtor. Have liquid cash on hand, be pre-approved for the loan. Just try to set yourself up as best as you can, because there are homes for sale, 900 plus homes on the market. The inventory doesn't appear to be the issue, according to Bankrate. It's the money. How much money can you get together if you're trying to buy a $200,000 home? $9,000 up front from closing costs. So to me, that's some of the highlights of this. Is if you break down those shelter numbers, yes, we're up 3.8% nationwide in housing. That's what the inflation numbers say. A house is now 3.8% more expensive than it was a year ago. That's several $1,000s. If you have the money on hand, at least enough for closing cost, if you get pre-approved for that loan and you're ready to go, it is not impossible to find a house in Tulsa right now. So thank you so much. This is just a brief version of the Digital Desk. We'll be back next time. We're going to have more experts, but I just wanted to check in with you here today about the June 2025 inflation report. Thank you for joining me. I'm Dave Davis, and we'll see you on 6 in the morning.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's own digital studio stream. Stay with News on 6 online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.